Hello and welcome back to the Hockey Assist Network. I am your host DJ Mitchell, here to cover the Underdog Daily Fantasy Hockey product. I've been kind of had this one in the cooker for a little while. I had it all set and it got completely ruined by bad internet quality, and then I had to move. So here we are. We're going to get into it today. Thank you again for listening. Please subscribe, rate, review. You know the drill. You've listened to YouTube channels before, I'm sure. So if we take a look at the board, the first thing you're going to notice, and the first thing you should notice, is that goalies completely take control of the top of the whole thing, and thus that really kind of is going to mess you up if you're not active, because you're going to auto draft a goalie first, which is not the best strategy in my opinion. The best strategy is, well, at least what I do, is I just do center, wing, defenseman, get that all together and start from there. Now the reason is we have 10 games on this slate. If there's a Tuesday slate with 3 games, you might want to prioritize goalie a bit more. But if there's 10 games, that means there's 20 total goalies, meaning there's 10 favorites, and there's only 6 people drafting. So you're going to be able to get who you want. And even if you look at these rankings, Bobrovsky ranks the highest in the 6 over-under, then Vasilevsky, Sway. I just don't think any of these guys, almost all of them are road goalies projecting higher. I don't really get it. So I'm a little bit more interested in finding the right guy. Another thing that to notice is, let's say, for example, you get a really good feeling on a guy like, Marc-Andre Fleury. Probably shouldn't, but if you do, and you take him, if he doesn't start and Lankinen ends up getting the nod, it should swap for you, but you can set your swap rankings, which I'll go over at the end. So you don't have to go to Daily Faceoff and pray that you get the right guy, because they should be able to swap without a problem. That being said, you should still go to a site like Daily Faceoff and see which goalies are starting, because just to avoid any potential disaster. And if you really like a team and you like the spot, I do think stacking with a goalie is probably sharp overall as a concept. So if you take Boston 1, Jeremy Swayman starter, same thing if you are like Aiden Hill starting for San Jose, because if your stack does go off and score 3 goals combined and you win the slate, you got to assume that your goaltender is getting the win as well, which if you kind of look at some of their stats, the win is pretty important. So if you look at, Jake Allen here, who's gotten shelled in 2 games and he had 22 saves in the win, the shutout obviously being a huge indicator there of why he had so much success. But nevertheless, getting the right goalie is important, and goalie does matter a lot in these scenarios. But I don't think you need to be jamming in the first goalie you see and trying to get that first or second round. Obviously, the first player going to be taken tonight is going to be Connor McDavid. By anyone who's paying attention, makes a ton of sense. It's going to be hard to get him with Leon, but it is doable. So it's something worth considering. Let's turn this on really quick. I want to kind of go over the rules. So there's 30 total entrants, 500 in prizes, 12% rake. The scoring is 6 for a goal, 4 for an assist. So goals and assists are incredibly valuable, which is why playing correlated pieces is going to be such a key to winning this whole thing. So I do think that that's going to be priority 1. You can go with the kind of spray and pray approach, because the rosters are so small in this way of playing DFS. Shots, blocks, and hits are all counted. Power play points get a bit of a boost. So, yeah, that might give you, right now, Tom Wilson would have been a great play on Monday, playing with Ovi and Kuznetsov. That would have been a really good stack, a guy that does hit a bit more, but the Chuck brothers do that as well. So I've been prioritizing them maybe a little bit more in the field. As I said, with goalie, 6 for the win, 3 for a goal against. So you're kind of, hoping that win can make up for 2 goals against, and then you just get the saves to get you there. I think more or less is the strategy with goalie. Predicting a shutout is nearly impossible. Roster is 1 center, 1 defenseman, 2 wingers, 1 flex, and 1 goalie, meaning you can play 2 centers. So as I already showed you, McDavid and Draisaitl both center eligible. You can get them both. One of them will just be your flex, which is more than fine. I do think that this makes winger minorly more important, but it's not going to sway me to take a guy like Pastrnak first if I could get McDavid. That just doesn't make any sense. I don't think there's anything wrong with going double defense, and I did mention it actually in my first recording that didn't get through, that actually double defenders, 1, the slate like 2 times in a row as far as like taking a defenseman and a defenseman in the flex. It's not necessary, but I definitely think it's a really good way to get maybe a little bit unique. But with 30 lineups, who cares? 30 lineups, 10 games. You can kind of do whatever you want. Another thing that's been happening that I've been trying to check right away is just to see if any of the players projected really low are incorrect. So, for example, I get in here a little bit early, which I already had done, and I try to just go through the positions and go for players that are kind of like 4 or 5 points. The other night, we had Rantanen projected at 1.8, mainly because they didn't know if he'd be back. And here tonight, Alexander Barkov, 2.1. Just not projected correctly because of the fact he might be injured, which is going to happen. That's just how it's going to work. Dylan Larkin, 1.2. Again, these are just incorrect, and that's probably going to mean they're going to be 0% owned. So that's going to boost them up a little bit in my eyes. As far as, if I get Edmonton, right, let's just say, for example, I get the first pick, I get McDavid, I probably don't get Draisaitl, but maybe I take Puljujarvi. Now I might really consider Florida in a 6.5 with Barkov against New Jersey, just because no one's going to have that correlation together. So that boosted a bit in my eyes, at least. And it's definitely something that I'm not blaming Underdog for doing. Like, Barkov is projected to maybe be out. So that's clearly factoring in. But he did return to the lineup on Monday. So I'd be decently surprised for him to miss. Larkin, same kind of situation. He's been kind of on and off, missed and back. But he did play, I believe, in their last game. Yeah, he was quiet in their return to lineup. He did play. So, again, another guy that just might end up getting a bit of a boost. So we'll see. Same thing with wingers. So, I mean, the best way to maybe do this is by searching. So you can search by team. If you type in PIT, they'll pull up Pittsburgh, and that might give you a chance to find a guy that just isn't correct. They'll also Kopitar. I mean, you're going to get some of those random ones that are going to flock in there, but Pittsburgh, one of the favorites on the night to be really, really good. It doesn't look like any pricing mismatches here. You can go, Edmonton, right, and just see that. Oh, where's Puljujarvi? Way down the list. He might get decently unappreciated, unowned, which is just exactly what you're looking for in that stack. If he does play with Leon and McDavid, that he's a really, really good piece to have, and he's winger eligible, which just kind of sets you up to a nice 3-man, 2 utility, use Draisaitl as your flex, which is totally fine on this slate, obviously. So that's kind of how you want to get in here and get some preliminary strategy done. I also think you'd be foolish not to be using the other things that I showed you in the last video, going to sites like HockeyViz, looking at what teams did yesterday and the day before. It's really just going to be a good way for you to get ready to do these drafts. And if you're not doing it, someone else is, and they're gonna set themselves apart, and you're gonna end up maybe missing out on a really good opportunity. So again, this is all stuff that you should just be getting it a little bit early. Obviously, you can't specify when you join if you're going to be first, second, third, or fourth, or fifth, but you should be able to see by the entrance. You just divide it by 6 and see if you're going to be if you're the next person to fill it. So the next person in is going to have exactly 1 minute to prepare because they're the 6th. The draft's going to start immediately once they enter. So if you are going to be one of the 6 people to join in perpetuity, then you might want to double check stuff. So I am probably going to pause it right here until it fills, because I don't know if there's any preliminary notes I wanted to get to other than that. So I'm just going to quickly pause it until it fills, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now we finally got the draft going. We have a few of the guys I can already tell by the names in the Morning Skate Podcast group. So I'm picking 6th. Fantastic news. Exactly what you want on this slate. If I could just get things to work. All right, and we're back. Okay, so we got Nolt going first. He is a very, very good DFS player. I know he's in the group. I'm sure he's about to take McDavid number 1. I can't imagine he'd do anything different, but you never do know for sure. So, obviously, this is kind of a very moving strategy for what you're going to be doing each and every slate. This one, it's going to be interesting. This guy, okay, well, not my best strategy of, not at least hasn't listened to me yet here. Me Mart taking Swayman at 2. I just don't really think it's necessary to take a goalie this early. I don't think Swayman is such an elite take that you need to do it. We get another goalie right there. I'm not sure if I want to take the Draisaitl Puljujarvi mini stack. It might not even get to me anyways to give me that opportunity. I'm honestly kind of considering, yep, it doesn't anyways, considering just taking Boston 1 against Ottawa. It's in a really good spot. I don't really see any reason why not. And I can probably get another stack I really like later. As long as this person doesn't take a piece of it, I'm probably going to do that. Just, I love that stack in general because it's so heavily correlated with power play, with, time on ice and etc. against Ottawa, who broke up their first line. I kind of think it could end up being the unlock key. They don't even need to score 3 or 4 goals. They just really need to score 2 to probably get into a spot to make money. So I am going to take Mr. Pasternak and Mr. Marchand. That's going to take up my 2 wing positions. I still have the flex. And then I'm going to cue Bergeron over there for the third guy in, if I can get him. And there's a chance someone takes him. The one guy that took, or gal that took Swayman might be really trying to get Boston themselves. And if I don't get Bergeron, I'm going to live with it. I'm going to move on to another stack. There's a lot of other options out there. Now, I am going to kind of be handcuffing myself a little bit because I can't take a stack like DeBrincat and Kane because I only have 1 wing spot left as a flex at this point. So I am sort of prioritizing center. There goes Bergeron. So that one's gone at this point. Not a big deal. I do think that there's reason to consider going with like Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. I know I talked about it on the podcast. I'm going to move that over here just so I have it in my repertoire in 9 picks in case that does come up. Pedersen goes. That's fine. Don't really have a ton of interest there. Aho and Svechnikov is another one I really like. I could even consider at that point taking a guy like D'Angelo as my defenseman. He's probably not going to be rated very high. Let's move him over as well. Let's just keep going. Yeah, so we'll move all these guys over. Kind of give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room with what we're going to do. I don't think Nugent Hopkins moved over. All right. Aho. And Nugent Hopkins. Okay, that's fine. So Nolt back up. He's got the turn. He's going to go Gensel. I like that a lot. And Rust. I mean, this is a really, really good, solid team he's building here with, McDavid and the Pittsburgh stack. I mean, that's really, you can't ask for much more than that. So, okay, hold on a second. I realize I'm in the wrong setting. There we go. Now it looks right. I was wondering why it looks so weird. So this is what it should look like. I'm going to apologize in advance for not having it set correctly. So, now all of my everything is focused. So you got to see what it looks like if you don't enter the actual draft room. You're welcome in advance. Barkov goes. Someone had a nice little take there as well. So Mini Mart or whatever it is took Barkov, Kane, and Swayman. Not really getting the correlation that I would personally like to see, but it's okay there. We have Draisaitl and Pedersen for the person up on the clock right now. They take Taylor Hall again, not going correlated, which is okay. This person went Bergeron and Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky isn't even really all that likely to start. He should start. He should start as long as he's going back from this injury healthy, which we're still not sure on yet. So we'll see what they do here. They could crush me and take Aho or Svechnikov, and that's kind of my plan right now is to grab those guys. I think they're one of the better kind of pairings of the night. Going to take a quick look at that's what I'm going to do. I don't think anything would have changed in practice, but I'm going to roll with it regardless. Hopefully it didn't. I did not check. So Svechnikov is going to end up being my flex. I am out of the ability to take a winger, and Aho is going to go in at my center. So now I do have options here because I also could go with Charlie McAvoy. I don't believe he had been selected yet. This is tough because, I do like D'Angelo here a lot. Power play 1. With the injury to Pesci, he's gotten a bit of a boost. But do I want to just take, the 3-man Boston, the 3-man Carolina? That's a debate I'm going to have with my last pick. I'm also going to take a look at goalie and queue a couple guys up. Like I mentioned, there's only 6 possible goalies you can take. Oh, well, McAvoy's gone now. That's going to make my life a whole lot easier with Tony D'Angelo. Almost a guarantee now. So, yeah. I think that's going to have to be the plan. Yep. Wait a minute. Yeah, I have 2 picks left because defenseman and goalie. Yep. Okay. So goalie, the starters we have right now, and there's a lot of unconfirmed. We have Aiden, etc. But like I mentioned, you can change that later. I think I'm gonna end up going with. I want to go with someone maybe a little bit off the board, someone that I think will see a ton of shots. They really like Jake Allen, which I don't mind, but like I showed, he's been pretty weak to start the year. I kind of like Seattle quite a bit in their matchup. We don't have a confirmed starter yet, I don't believe. They have Grubauer as projected. I agree with that. I think that's going to be my plan here because I don't think Vegas is going to hold much of a fight up against Seattle. They've been really, really dominant. So I think that's a decently safe bet. I think if you're getting a little bit more contrarian, a guy like Gibson makes a lot of sense. But other than that, I'm not really too interested. Who's the Pittsburgh starter? That could also be of note. Again, it's going to be Jari. I'm sure he's already gone. But like I said, you can search for them and see. No, Jari's still there. Interesting. Projected 0 too. All right, that changes everything. We're going to take Jari because I believe he'll start, and that would mean that no one's going to have him. I don't really know why he wouldn't start here. But I can always trade him out later, even if someone does take the Smith, and I could probably even still get Grubauer. So I'm going to take, you know what? I'm going to try to double check. So I'm going to take Tony DeAngelo first, and then I'm going to quickly run to Twitter with 25 seconds on the clock here. Oh boy, this is exciting. This is what it's all about. Do I have time to figure this out? I'm going to say no. But if I don't, I already have my cue set, so it's not a big deal. Can we figure it out in time? I don't even know if we're going to have the news. Okay. We have 8 seconds on the clock. Oh, it's going down to the wire. Yeah, there's nothing. All right, so it's going to be Jari. We're going to take him. We don't have any news either way. I don't really see why he wouldn't start here. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. There's no news out of Pittsburgh yet on who the starter is, so we're guessing, but we can always change it later. I don't mind that at all. So that's going to be the squad. We'll try to run through all the other teams. So, because I picked first, and we can go through mine at the end. So this guy went Bergeron, the Chuck, Ekblad, McAvoy, and Bobrovsky. So he correlates his defenseman with his goalie. I guess that's fine. We see what he finishes with here. I would hope Gaudreau would be the finish. Goes with Ehlers. Why not? He has the Bergeron, McAvoy. Bergeron was red hot. Our other friend here, don't know who he's exactly. He went with a completely uncorrelated roster: Draisaitl, Pettersson, Hall, Connor, Burns, and Koskinen. Whatever. I mean, you're hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. Another very uncorrelated roster: Scheifele, Hopkins, Huberdeau. Okay, we ran out of time, and you can't go back and look at it. So we'll pull up our team at least. Yeah, so I went with Boston, Carolina. I think it's pretty savvy. Aho and Svechnikov are awesome together. And then you have guys like Pastrnak and Marchand, who are probably one of the best stacks of the night. I would have probably preferred McAvoy. I think it's a bit safer of a bet. He kind of just gets more opportunity, I think, for everything. But looking at Tony DeAngelo's game log, he did have 4 hits in his last game and a block. He didn't get any points or shots on net, but he should see an increased role, power play 1, and you're just hoping that no one else has him. And, he with Aho and Svechnikov can all kind of correlate for a couple goals, and that'll really set you apart. Tristan Jarry in net, again, that 0 projected is really what swayed me. That means that this site, for some reason, has the assumption and belief that they will be playing DeSmith. I don't see that anywhere, so I'm going to bet on Jari and hope that maybe a couple 2-3 drafts get done before that changes. And maybe, we already have now 1 of 6 with Jari. If we can get Jari as maybe the only one or only the 2 out of 30, I'm going to feel really, really good about that because he's a heavy favorite to get the win against Chicago, I believe, at home. Yes, so that's going to be the video. Thank you again for watching and listening, and hopefully you learned a little bit about the Underdog product. Like I said, 30 entries. That is only going to go up with people joining, with more people getting involved. So please, 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 I hope that you will spread the word. You'll use promo code MSP or the Hockey Assist Network Dan to get more involved with this, send more people in, and we can all enjoy profiting together. So thank you so very much for listening, and have a wonderful evening and slate.